Welcome to another Thursday night live stream, everyone. As you can see, we have a guest with us this week. We've got Amy from Rock and Keto Amy, another fellow YouTuber. Let me mute my other windows here so I don't drive myself crazy. I always like to keep my other windows, my actual streams running in the background. So yeah, we've got Amy with us tonight to do a sort of get to know another creator, another fellow keto community member kind of thing. I've known Amy for a little while now. I think we were both at Keto Palooza this year without even crossing paths. You know, that tells you sort of how big the event is. But yeah, so let's get started with some people that are here. Michael's Adventures was early in the door. We've got Evelyn is here. Brian Fly Fisherman Dish. I thought he came into your channel first over there. It's kind of confusing trying to remember who's coming in on which channel, but we are co-streaming on this channel and on Amy's channel tonight. So just so everybody is aware of that. Reese's Cluttered Kitchen is here. I see Kendra Consuming the Goodness is here. And Delilah G. See, I remembered to say your name right this time. Is here. Target Prime Rib over on your channel. We've got Johnny Small Pepper in the house. Evelyn's going to hang out on your channel. That's cool, Evelyn. Thank you for being here, supporting us both. Josephine C is here. Lady Fritzader and Henry Leslie Vermont is here as well. So good to see you all on a Thursday night here. It's been a few weeks since I could live stream. A few things been going on Thursday nights, but I wanted to have Amy on here. I was on her channel 4 weeks ago, something like that. And we, went over my story. So I wanted her to come over and introduce herself to all of you that don't know who Amy is. And so that you can get to know her. We will drop a link for Amy's channel in the chat at some point here. So I guess we might as well jump right into it, Amy, if you want to sort of introduce yourself and let us know what got you started on this wonderful journey.
Sure. And first of all, thank you, Jason, for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to tell my story. And so from the beginning, just like childhood, I was always a really thin kid, like no issues, went outside and played outside, ran around. They used to call me Olive Oil because I was tall and skinny, like the Popeye cartoon character, Olive Oil. So that was kind of my nickname because I was so thin and tall. Or they called me Sequoia Tree or Sasquatch were the three nicknames that the kids used to call me to make fun of me. And, that was fine, whatever. I guess that gave me a tough skin. And, in high school, I played sports, and volleyball was like our city's big team. We went downstate every year, and I weighed more than the other girls. So that bothered me a little bit. And we used to have to run based on our weight. And because I was taller, I had to run more. Whereas the 5'2" girls who weighed like 100 pounds, like only had to run 5 minutes. So I was always, that's when my unhealthy relationship with food started because I didn't want to run. I would starve myself. And my mom at one point thought she was helping me, and she bought me these Slim Fast shakes. I don't know if you remember the Slim Fast shakes, and they came in a can and they were really disgusting. I mean, they were just gross. The ones in the can tasted like metal and everything else. So I ended up just after a while taking them and chucking them in the trash can at school, and I would starve myself, which now is considered fasting, which probably isn't so bad. But back then I would just not eat. And then I also always remember getting sinus infections when I was a kid. So that was another thing that I dealt with. And I was supposed to have a sinus surgery when I was a kid, but the doctors told my parents there was like a 50-50 chance there could be something that went wrong. And they're like, no, I think we're just not going to do that. So I always had these sinus issues. And I struggled with allergies and asthma, and I was diagnosed with allergies and asthma at the age of 9. So I started on my first allergy medication at 9. And then the weight thing, back to the weight thing, I was still pretty thin up until about college. And for those of us who go to college, we usually start getting jobs and we could afford our own food. And I went to the University of Notre Dame, which was a pretty tough program. And so I had to work 3 jobs to pay for my own school because it was expensive. So I was always running in between jobs. And, they had things like Taco Bell, and they had things like I worked at a grocery store, so I could get these like unhealthy deli sandwiches and stuff there. I always had access to my own food, and I wasn't eating the home cooked meals that my mom, would make for me anymore. And that's when my weight really started to slide up. And I was like 135 to 145 in high school, and I was about 5'11. And then I started to gain that weight in college, and I was anywhere between 150 and I would say 180 at times. So that's when my weight started to slide uphill. And so fast forward a little bit, when I was 29 and I was dating my current husband, before we got married, I had gotten the sinus ear infection that usually they would last for a few weeks to a couple of months, right? Because I got these my whole life. And the pain never went away with this one. It was excruciating, and it was in my ear and my face, and it was so intense. And the doctors, I kept saying I had a sinus infection and the pain would never go away. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They looked for tooth pain. They looked for brain tumors. They looked for brain cancer, multiple sclerosis. And then finally, they just came to the conclusion I was imagining it, and it was all in my head. Because nothing would show on a scan, right? And so I fired several specialists, and my doctor, who was my GP, was awesome. He had been my doctor since I was 17 years old. So I was like, you got to figure this out. So he found this brain surgeon, a neurologist in Detroit, Michigan. And he's like, okay, I'm going to send you to this guy. So I went to this specialist, and I just wanted to go to Mayo Clinic. If you've ever heard of, Mayo Clinic, it's like one of the best, supposedly the best special hospitals in Minnesota. So I kind of got cocky, and I was talking with this doctor, and I'm like, look, I'm here, but I really want to be at Mayo Clinic. And this doctor said, well, I can send you to Mayo Clinic, but I'm better than Mayo Clinic, and I can fix you. And he's like, I know what you have. Within the first 5 minutes of talking to you, you have trigeminal neuralgia, which for those of you who don't know, it's a nerve pain disorder in your trigeminal nerve in your face. And it's called the suicide disease because it's extremely painful. So he figured out what I had, but this had led me to being on opioids, like a massive amount of prescription medications. I was taking 6 Vicodins a day. I was taking Klonopins, diazepam, temazepam to sleep, antidepressants, muscle relaxers. If you've ever heard of the drug Lyrica, which is like gabapentin, if you've ever heard of gabapentin, it's a nerve pain blocker. They had me on like over 2,000 milligrams of this. I know it was way over the recommended FDA dose, and they had to get special permission to put me on it. Come to find out, this medication, they didn't know it, but it was causing people to die because people would suffocate on it. They would stop breathing. And so I was on that. A couple of times I was in so much pain, even being on all this medication, that I would go to the ER just because I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I'm not sleeping. And I didn't sleep for like 2 years. So I wasn't sleeping. So I would ask them to just give me something, and they gave me morphine, and morphine was really the only thing that would take the pain away. So the first time, my parents went with me, and the second time, I was with my husband. I'm like, it was in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I can't take this anymore. And I said, just, you stay here. I'll just drive myself. So I drove myself to the ER, and I'm like, I told the doctor I need a shot of morphine. Well, they looked at me like I was a street drug addict trying to just get drugs when really I was severely in pain, and I just wanted just to sleep for 8 hours. So they made me wait 12 hours and they finally gave me the shot of morphine. And I'm not a suicidal person. I'm not a depressive person. I'm generally a happy, energetic person. But during this time of my life, I was willing to end the pain any way that I could. And I just kept obsessing about jumping off a bridge. Like my job had a window overlooking this bridge to the river here. And I just kept thinking I just needed to go jump off this bridge. And I was out of my mind from not having any sleep for 2 years. Like when you don't sleep for 2 years, you lose your mind, you lose your mentality because you're so exhausted. And so, one time my husband and his son, my stepson, I decided I was walking towards this bridge. And I remember them getting in the car and following me. And then they had to physically restrain me and throw me back in the car because I was determined that I was going to end this pain. So all of this happened. And then, I found that brain surgeon who said he could fix me. So we were going to wait 6 months because I was getting married. So he's like, let's wait till after your wedding. So that was 2007. The surgery we scheduled for April of 2008. And during this time, the doctors decided we need to get you off all these medications, right? Well, I had been on them for 2 years. So coming off, I'm not a drug addict. I don't consider myself a drug addict. I was prescribed prescription medications from the doctors. But your body still tends to become, I don't know, used to these drugs. So the worst was the Klonopins. They cold turkeyed me off of these Klonopins. And I remember going to work and vomiting in my trash can under my desk and sweating. And I just felt horrible. So I went back to the doctor and I'm like, I don't know why it has to be like this, but I know you need to get me off these other medications, but that was horrible. So the next step was the Vicodins. And luckily he decided to stair step me off of the Vicodins. So, we would decrease them a little bit. So that went better. And then at some point, the Lyrica, I started to have that symptom where you couldn't breathe. And I'm like, I got to get off of this. So they got me off of that. So in April, I got off all the medications except for one anxiety medication they kept me on. So in April 2008, I had my brain surgery, which was a micro decompression surgery. And then they also did something in my ear to alleviate that pain. I think they nicked my trigeminal nerve a third of the way through. And that stops the pain transmissions to the brain, which is interesting because you ever have an ice cream headache? Like where you eat something really cold and then you get this terrible pain. Well, I only get it on the right side of my face now, not on the left side. So I don't even feel ice cream headaches on that side. So about this time, right before my wedding, I decided I wanted to lose a few pounds, right? So the buzzword was this Atkins diet. I don't know if you ever tried Atkins or if you heard about that, but that was the buzzword back in the early 2000s. So I decided I was going to do this Atkins thing. Although I never bought the book, and I know there were stages. Like the first week was really carnivore. The second week was adding some veg in. There were stages. Well, I just researched it on the internet, and I just summarized that basically you're cutting out bread, potatoes, pasta, starches, and whatnot. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just do it this way. And I'm just going to cut out all these things. So I did an abbreviated version of Atkins, which basically was keto, but we didn't have that name yet for it. So I did that and I lost 30 pounds before my wedding. And then the honeymoon, right? We went on a 2-week cruise in the Caribbean. And I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise, Jason, but they have all these buffets and food, access to food 24/7. So I'm like, I'm just going to go on the cruise and enjoy the cruise. And I'm going to go off Atkins and I'll get back on it when I get home. Right. Well, let me tell you, we ate all the things on this cruise. We would go dancing. We would go singing karaoke. And then at midnight, we would go to the buffet and grab a plate full of desserts and brownies, and then we would take them back to our suite, and then we would eat brownies in bed every night on this cruise. And by the end of this cruise, the clothes that I took with me no longer fit. I had pants. By the end of the cruise, I had to wear the same like couple outfits because I gained that 30 pounds back and then some. So that happened. And so I think when I got back, I was over 200 pounds and I was 175 at my wedding. So just to tell you about, how much I gained. And I never, went back on Atkins. And then before you know it, I was married. I was happy. I was probably upwards of 250, 260 pounds. At one point, I think I stopped weighing myself. And just stop me if you need to go through some comments, if you want to go through some comments or anything.
Yeah, we've got a couple of people that are heading
Yep,
out. Josephine was heading out. We've got a few people probably sneaking in from Tuber Chat. Katie's here. Carol's here as well. Tim's coming in the door. So, So hello to everybody that's coming into the live stream and welcome. We're just going over Amy's sort of journey and to the keto lifestyle. So so if you want to, you can pick up from there, and then we'll say hi to some more people as they come in.
Sure. So, I got up to 250 pounds, but I didn't care because I'd gone through this life-changing brain surgery, right? So I didn't care about being skinny. I was just happy that I wasn't in pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2012, something else happened. So I woke up out of bed one day and I had this left hip pain. I didn't have an injury. I didn't have a fall. I just woke up and my left hip hurt so bad. I was about 35 years old. So I let this go on for a little bit. And finally, after a while, I went to see an orthopedic surgeon. And he diagnosed me with a labral tear in my left hip. So I eventually did the surgery. He fixed my hip. I felt better. And you think I would have taken this as a warning sign to get my health in check, but I thought about it and I never really did. Eventually, I tried a few things. I tried some protein shakes, which you think is kind of ironic because I hated the Slim Fast so bad when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. You wouldn't think I would have tried protein shakes. But those really didn't work because I would have one for breakfast, one for lunch, and then at night I would be so starving I would just eat everything in the house. So those protein shakes really didn't work because I was starving. And then in 2016, I started walking, whatnot. And then my husband and I went to New York City because I'm a singer and I sing in some choral groups, and we were singing at Carnegie Hall. And I remember planning out our entire trip. And New York City blocks, if you've ever been there, they're not like small town city blocks. They're like very big. So I'm like, oh, it's only 5 blocks to walk here. Well, it's 5 New York City blocks. So I was 260 pounds going on this trip. And I think I walked 15 miles that first night we were there just to see all these sights. And I remember stepping off a curb in New York City and I hurt my foot. It hurt it. So when we got back, I went to see a orthopedic foot doctor. What do surgeons do? What do they recommend?
Surgery.
They recommend surgery. So do you think they would have recommended orthopedic inserts, or let's try shoes, or let's try therapy? Or no, you go to see a surgeon and they're going to operate on you. So that's what happened. I ended up having this foot surgery, which I totally regret because the pain never went away. And I ended up getting orthopedic shoes and inserts, and, losing the weight really helped too. So fast forward to 2018. I had a nasty fall in my yard because I walked into a spider web. I was going to change my hummingbird feeder and I face planted into the spider web, and I did this acrobatic move, and the security cameras actually picked it up, which it's a video on my channel. But anyway, my hip started hurting again. So I went back to the same orthopedic surgeon, and guess what? I retore my labrum in my hip. So what happened with this was we decided I was going to have surgery, and I went home. And at this time now, when you go to a doctor, they upload their notes digitally into their whatever platforms. And I read his notes, and his notes said, we talked extensively about weight loss. And I lost it. I started bawling. I'm like, no, we never did. Why did he put that in my chart? Why did he say I was fat in my chart? And I lost it and started bawling. And so I went back to him. I'm like, look, I'm going to get serious about losing weight. You know, I saw your notes in my chart, and give me 6 months. I know what to do. Right. So I thought, okay, I can do this Atkins thing again, and I can drop this weight. Well, I started like just eating a lot of grilled chicken and steamed broccoli, which was horrible. It was low fat, low carb. I started doing low fat, low carb, and I did start losing weight, like about 10 pounds a month, but I thought I was going to die from just eating low fat, low carb. So my sister, who's been secretly keto for 20 years, she's like, have you heard of this? She's like, let me send you some stuff. So she sent me like Dr. Berry videos, and she sent me Maria Emmerich videos. And I'm like, you can have lasagna on keto. You can have like, you know, taco pie on keto. It was like a record scratch noise for me. So she started sending me all these people and all these recipes, and I started making them, and I felt better, and I still lost 60 pounds in 6 months. So I went back. I had the surgery. I think it was May of 2019. So my true keto journey began in 2018. Oh, Evelyn's sharing the video.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you need to go through a few more comments?
No, I think I'm just watching for any questions or anything right now. No.
Yep. So,
we're good for now.
So I went and had the second surgery, and, you know, I was on crutches for 7 months, which is another reason why I really wanted to lose the weight, because being on no weight bearing on crutches at upwards of 260 pounds, if you're not strong, you can't carry your body on your arms. So that's the other reason why I wanted to try to lose as much weight as I could, because I'd already been through the surgery once, so I knew. So I lost 60 pounds before the surgery. I had the surgery. 7 weeks later, I got off the crutches and started my physical therapy. And I was chopping a salad at my counter, and I took a baby step, right? Just shifted weight, and my hip popped, and I almost fell to the floor. And I'm like, what was that? Well, I was in excruciating pain ever since that happened. So I went back to my surgeon, and he's like, yeah, you tore your labrum again 7 weeks after the surgery. And he's like, there's nothing more I can do for you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it hurts worse now than it did before the surgery. But he's like, I got a guy in Chicago I want to send you to. And this guy pioneers hip surgeries. He's amazing. So he sent me to this doctor. His name is Dr. Shane No, and he's at Rush Medical in Chicago. And he was like my brain surgeon. I went and saw him, and he's like, we got this. I can fix you. And but the other guy said there's nothing more that could be done. He's like, no, I can fix you. He's like, but the insurance is probably not going to pay for it. And he's like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do the surgery, and I'm going to go in, and I'm going to fix whatever I see, whether the insurance approves it or not. And then we're going to fight them later. And that's exactly what we did. So he fixed me, and I pretty much was in physical therapy for all of 2019. Right. So that happened. And that was a long recovery, having 2 surgeries in 1 year. And during that year, I had a meat aversion, and I think it was from the anesthesia from all the surgeries, which was kind of weird. But here I was eating bacon and eggs almost every day, because I really didn't like ground beef at this time, which was weird. I mean, I didn't like beef. I didn't even like chicken. The only thing I really wanted to eat was bacon and eggs. So I ate bacon and eggs for a whole year, and it was amazing. So I lost about 20 more pounds. And then I stalled for 2 years. I didn't lose any more weight for 2 years. So about 2021, Maria and Craig Emmerich, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they were at Ketopalooza. They came out with this protein sparing modified fast thing. So I started doing that, and then the weight just started dropping off again. right? And you only do that. I'm not going to explain what that is. You only do that 1 to 3 days a week, but it's basically a high protein, low fat protocol. And I'm not saying anybody should go out there and try it. It's just something I wanted to try to break through a stall. And I did. I did that for 4 years, 1 to 3 times a week. Something else that happened was during 2020, we all know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a reaction to one of the shots, pretty severe. And after that, I started getting sick every month and a half for 2 years. And I think I had the long virus symptoms, is what they call it. And I had the virus 7 times. So I think I really had what they call long COVID. And so the importance of that is I really settled into this extreme exhaustion that really never went away. And so I dealt with that until May of this year. It really kicked into high gear, right? Because I had a really bad week this year where my brother had a severe accident at work and almost bled to death. He cut his arm open on a piece of metal at work. And so I went and witnessed that at the emergency room. Then 2 days later, my dad called me and asked me to take him to the ER because he had a kidney stone. Then that same week, we had terrible storms and a tree fell, just missing our house. So like I was dealing and after that happened, I started like waking up in the morning and feeling paralyzed. I can't describe it, but I felt like I couldn't move. I couldn't move my body. And I was just this exhaustion that I've been dealing with for the last several years just came to a head. So I decided to go carnivore, and I've been carnivore for 60 days. So that's kind of been going on too. And it's gotten better. It's really helped my exhaustion levels. I don't know if it's cortisol or who knows what's causing it, right? A couple of things I like to mention though, since I've gone keto, my asthma cleared up, my eczema, I had eczema that cleared up. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure at age 38, and it was 220/110 when I was diagnosed. I finally got off those depression medications or the anxiety meds that I had since I was on trigeminal neuralgia. And then my joint pain, is so much better as long as I eat clean, even if it's clean keto. And I was also during this time diagnosed with sleep apnea. I don't know that it's completely gone, but I feel like it's better.
Right.
So these are kind of the things that, I've cured on a ketogenic carnivore diet. And that's kind of basically the gist of the story. I don't know if you have questions, but, it's just been kind of a progression.
Yeah, it sounds like there's, sort of a lot of, how should I say, things happening and then reactions and trying to get the fix things that are happening. Like I completely get it, and it does. I guess with my story, thankfully, I never really had too much other than a lot just the aches and pains that I had to sort of work through. So, I do what you had to go through. Wouldn't wish on anybody. That's for sure.
Well, and honestly, if I hadn't gone through it, I kind of had to go through all that stuff because that's what motivated me to change my lifestyle. However, I will say this. I think that had I been clean eating before, I don't think I would have had trigeminal neuralgia. I think that was inflammation pain. I think that was inflammation that was just was causing nerve pain. And I think that I could have avoided all the hip surgeries and the foot surgeries too, because I will tell you this, and this happened this weekend. If I eat the slightest thing that's not a clean ingredient, like weird things happen, like joint pain. So my son smoked some pork, right? And we had a cookout this weekend, and he said I put a rub on it. And I'm like, what was in the rub? Because he's not keto or anything. And
Yeah.
so he brought it, and I'm like, I'm going to eat a little bit of this, and I guess we'll see what happens. Well, within 2 days, guess what happened? My knees, I'm in so much pain in my knees right now. And I know, like, I'm not going to run to the orthopedic surgeon because my knees hurt. I know this is inflammation caused from whatever was put on that meat. And a couple of times I accidentally ate gluten, and that hip that I've had surgery on 2 times, it's like I can't even walk. It hurts so bad. So I'm wondering if I would have found this lifestyle before all the surgeries, I wouldn't have had to have all the surgeries. But it's coulda, woulda, shoulda. We don't know until we know. We can't turn back time and tell young self what we know now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of us sort of in this community are probably kicking ourselves for not, or for finding it so late, because like, I know you were at Keto Palooza too, and it seems,
Mhm.
it does seem like all of the people in the community, for the most part, not everybody, but for the most part, it seems to be people that have sort of abused themselves and their body for a number of years and gotten to the point where it was either change or die. A lot of people,
Mhm.
that's literally where they got to, right? Like they had to make the change, or it was going to cost them their life, basically.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely uh, the I look back at it too and think, okay, well, what if I had started doing this when I was 20? What if, because
Yep.
I remember my dad, he got into Atkins when I was like 20 years old, something like that, like years and years, like 30 years ago, kind of thing. So I'd heard about that way back then. I'm like, whatever. I'll keep eating my pizza and drinking beer, right? So,
Right.
and when I hit my late 40s, I paid for it. So now I'm trying to get back to where I should be, but it's there's always, and that's why I like to do, like I was talking to you earlier about why I do these kinds of interviews.
Mhm.
It's great to hang out with everybody. We've got Keto Simple, Dustin's in here, and we've got Meathead as well. Kendra's back as well. So, hanging out and talking and chatting with everybody is awesome. My biggest thing with these interviews is sharing stories, because there could be someone in the background that doesn't want to chat here, that's just listening, and they can relate to somebody's story, right? Somebody is going to have the same relatable kind of experience that uh, they are, and hopefully this can show someone that hey, we're here to help, and we can help you get through it, turn the page, and get on the right track to feeling good. Like there's no reason why, as we age, we should feel like we're aging. Obviously there's can't turn back time, but we can make the best of uh,
Mhm.
what we have, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Tammy's saying we think we were invincible in our 20s and learned, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then Dustin saying every story is a window into what's possible, for sure. Yeah. We've got Paula and Jason here. Simple changes. Jason lost 23 pounds and Paul has lost
Yay.
22. That's amazing. And Henry's saying, I think exercise is key too. So what do you like? Do you sort of, is there any sort of specific exercises that you do regularly, or is it like making sure you move as much as you can? Or?
Well, and if I can add something to that too, because I left this out of the story just because, like, I could make the story 2 hours if I really wanted to. There's a lot more, but there was one point where, before I lost the weight, I thought if I exercise, I think exercise is important because we need to be moving and we need to be making ourselves stronger. But
Mhm.
exercise is not going to fix a bad diet. And I'm proof of this because before, I had the second and third hip surgeries, I thought, well, I can just go to the gym and I can get on
Mhm.
elliptical and burn 2,000 calories on elliptical. And then I can eat whatever I want. Well, what was happening was our little smartwatches track how many calories you burn. So I'd get on a little elliptical and it'd record I burned 2,000 calories, but then I would go home and I would fix a plate of nachos at 10 p.m. at night that was equivalent of 3,000 calories. So it was like I was still eating more calories that I was burning. So I think physical exercise and lifting weights is strong, or is important to make you strong. But if you have a bad diet, it won't necessarily help you lose weight, if you're not eating right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think as we age, it's more and more important to maintain like lean muscle mass in our bodies. Like, cause that's why I think that's one of the leading sort of precipitators to aging and being frail and all that is the loss of, because as you get over 40, and then every year you're going to lose some of the muscle mass. So yes, exercise and eat real food and lift heavy things, and pretty much go on with your life. And that's the way I look at it. But yeah, Henry's right. Like, there is definitely parts of being active in any way that you can, while going for walks. A lot of people I watch, it must be like 10 different couples around my neighborhood now that I'll see them every night walking around with like those weighted vests on. So
Yep.
that's a huge thing here now. So yeah, it's really important to be active, but like you say, you're never going to outrun a bad diet, and that's just unfortunately a fact.
Yeah, and for women too, especially as we get older, we have this osteoporosis thing, that I don't know if men get that too, but it seems to be like more in women for whatever reason. But the way to combat that is to lift heavy things and to lift weights, because that lifting weights actually builds your bones too. That makes your bones stronger, from what I've heard from the doctors, the keto and carnivore doctors. So if you walk around with a weighted vest on, or you do farmers walks, or it doesn't even have to be a gym membership, but if you lift heavy things, like I have 4 cats. So even lifting those 40-pound boxes of kitty litter,
Right.
I'm sure I'm building from those too.
Yep. That's for sure. So I think we have a few more people coming in from Tuber Chat here. We had Lisa Marie show up from over your channel. We've got Jesse Journals and Boxes in the house as well.
Hi, Jesse.
Yeah. Delilah saying we have to keep moving. Do anything, just move. Absolutely. Yeah. And Henry is saying, eating right and exercise, walking to my cams every day. Henry has trail cams that he sets up to capture footage. So yeah, we can say anything you can do.
Henry's from Tuber Chat, right?
Yeah, Henry goes to Tuber Chat as well. So
okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, he puts out videos with wildlife that he's captured on his trail cam. So, and that's the whole thing too, is we can all find something that can keep us active that we like to do, kind of thing. We don't have to all, like you say, we don't have to all spend hours in the gym. There's all sorts of other things. Foodie's Vacation saying pickleball has helped at 66. So something right there, like if you can do something like that, that's, it's fun and it's an exercise at the same time, then that's right. Definitely a way to stay ahead of it.
For sure.
I have 2 issues that prevent me from doing regular exercise due to shortness, lung capacity, and messed up lower back. Walking is about all I can tolerate. If it causes pains, I avoid it. Yeah. And, again, walking is the sort of the most straightforward way of getting exercise. If you can manage to do it daily, with my job, I wind up walking, 20,000 steps a day just for my job. So I don't even think about it, but, I think it's important just to get up and move whenever you can.
You're lucky I have a desk job, so I have to
Mhm.
intentionally move throughout the day. But I bought some kettlebells. I bought some ankle weights that I can just even wear on my ankles while I'm walking around the house. I've worn them
Mhm.
grocery store shopping. Goal of mine, because I have such particular injuries and now, they're compromised because of all the surgeries. A goal of mine is to do exercise videos for people who may have orthopedic or injuries, because I
Mhm.
can't do everything. That I can't go out and run sprints. I have to be careful when lifting weights with my left hip, my left leg, but I can
Mhm.
put ankle weights on and I can do leg lifts. I can do functional type exercises. There's a lot of stuff you could do at home. And so my goal is to like maybe start a series showing people what people with, particular delicate injuries, the kinds of thing they can do to make sure they're getting, strength building
Mhm.
in and stuff like that.
For sure. Reese's Clutter Kitchen saying they lift 20 to 50 pound boxes for my job 5 days a week. My physique has changed a lot in 7 years. My body looks better than I did when I paid for a gym membership. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there you
Yep.
go. That's definitely a a very active job for sure. And then Delilah is talking about my hummingbird video that I put out. That was a lot of fun. I do that once a year. I hang my GoPro in front of my hummingbird feeder and just record that and put out a video. I don't know. My fan base doesn't really react too well to it, but I don't care. I just like putting that kind of stuff out.
I love hummingbirds, so I'll have to go back and watch that. I have about 5 hummingbird feeders. As a matter of fact, that's how I
Oh, do
had
you?
my fall. Yeah, that's how I had my
Mm,
fall, was going out to change my hummingbird feeder, and I didn't see that nasty spider web.
mm, yeah. Yeah. Looks like there's a few other people in here. Tim's saying, I can't even walk right now. I'm still not weight bearing. Oh, that's no good.
I'm sorry, Tim.
Um, yeah, Tammy's saying that that's a great idea to do exercise
Mhm.
videos. The exercise videos are definitely a good kind of content. Kendra, Consume the Goodness, she does
Yep.
the exercise videos with multiple different um, seated and standing and on a walking pad, stuff like that. And I think it's great. And like you're saying, if you can put out something that is tailored to people that may have mobility issues, I think that would
Mhm.
do really well for content.
Kendra's got a lot of cool equipment.
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
I think she had like a Bowflex or something like that, and yeah, I'd like to
mhm,
have that.
yeah. Delilah is asking if you ever think about light bands, easier on the body, maybe.
Are
Like,
those the rubber band? I have those. If they're
yeah.
talking about, I got those when I did physical therapy. And
Mhm,
sometimes I have a treadmill. Sometimes I put the smaller ones on the arms of the treadmill, and while I'm walking, I just pull up on them and work my
mhm,
arms at the same time I'm walking on the treadmill. So
yeah,
yeah, weight bands are, or the light bands are great. Yeah.
for sure. Katie's Kitchen is here. She's saying it took me a year and a half to mostly rehab my ankle when I sprained it 3 ways. Yikes.
I'm telling you, foot and ankle problems. This is going to sound terrible, but the brain surgery was easier than the foot surgery. My foot still swells sometimes, and that surgery was in
Mhm,
2016 what that surgery
mhm,
was. And I'm like, the foot surgery and ankle problems is the worst. I mean, because it's the lowest part of your body, it swells, it hurts. It's just
yeah.
no fun.
Mhm. Yeah, there definitely can be hard to recover from, like a bad sprain for sure.
Mhm.
It's been a long time when I used to do sports, and when I was younger, I sprained my knee and ankles quite a bit. But yeah, it's no fun at all. So there were a few things I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
Obviously, you have a YouTube channel. We've sort of been talking about, what you're goals are for what you want to, get to. You haven't been doing, how long have you had your channel up and running?
Okay, so I was going live in Facebook for like 2 years, right?
Mm.
And then when I went to Keto Palooza, there was about 4 people who grabbed me and said, "You need to start a YouTube channel." I'm like,
Mm.
"Why? Why do I want to do that?" And they're like, "'Cause you just need to." So when I got back from Keto Palooza, I thought, I'm already going live in a private group. Maybe I could reach more people. And my goal was never to make money. It was just to help people, maybe save one person. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're right. I'm doing it right now in a closed group, and people can't just randomly search for that. They have to be in my Facebook group to see this. Maybe if I do go on YouTube, more people can see it. And, maybe I can inspire just one person from that.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched it over to YouTube. My goal is still not to make money. I am, but I'm not going to complain if I do make $1 here or there, because it helps offset the cost. But I know I'm not going to be rich on that. It's just more to inspire people, keep people going on this, share things that I know, because I've been doing this for 8 years now, been keto for 8 years. And I know, and honestly, if you count the Atkins, I know what breaks you from the cycle, and I'm in Dr. Barry's PhD class. So my end goal is to become a coach. I still plan on doing free stuff on YouTube, even after I become a coach. But my goal has always to become a coach and have the ability to work with people maybe who struggle a little bit more one-on-one. So
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's a good plan for sure. I think that was another thing on my list to ask you about. But before we get to that, Pete has sent a $20 super chat, and he says to also check your buy me a coffee later.
Pete, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
He's awesome.
What a good person. Pete's a great supporter.
Yeah. And we've got Ann Philbick here as well from Virginia. Going back on keto, it works for me. I only need to lose about 20 pounds. Good for you, Ann. Hopefully,
Fantastic.
You say we've got the support on these channels, so you know where to find the help that you need to stay on track for sure. Beverly saying she got a rebounder as walking much hurts the knees. Can only do 5-10 minutes at a time, but it seems to help my legs. I think that's that small, like the trampoline.
So I have a question about that. It's not really a rebounder, but these shake plates that everybody's getting? I'm curious about those. They're vibration plates. I'm curious about that. And they supposedly help people with lymphedema. But the reason why I think it would be good for me is because I have, as part of my physical therapy that I went through, it's called a balance board, right? Okay. And you stand on it. And actually, I'm going to start doing this again, because I tried to get on it the other day and I was like, whoa, I was all over the place. I'm like, yeah, my hips are not strong right now. But a vibration plate, you stand on it and it forces you to strengthen your core, and it forces you to it trains your body on balance. So I'm like, just for my hip issues, I think that would be a good thing to retrain my body for balance, because I have terrible balance.
Yeah. Anything that can help with balance is definitely, as long as it doesn't cause any sort of pain or anything, then I could definitely see that being worthwhile. Evelyn has a question for you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time as it relates to this way of living?
Well, currently I'm doing carnivore. And I'm one of these people that I feel like I'm very sensitive to the slightest thing, and I found this out on keto, because every once in a while I'd accidentally eat something unknowingly and then I would feel terrible for days. Now that I'm on carnivore, and this is probably not a good thing, like I'm going to try cheese again. I'm not doing cheese. I'm doing strict carnivore. I'm not doing cheese. So I want to try certain things just to see how my body reacts. So all of those carnivore people watching, don't think of it as a cheat. Think of it as a reintroduction, just to test my N equals 1, but I don't see, I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years now. I don't see myself in 5 years going vegan or going some other, diet. I'm going to be in the PhD spectrum. Now, my
Mhm.
goals are to further my, further try to help other people. And I've always wanted that. I was just scared to put myself out there as a coach without some sort of certification, because I think that opens you up to a lot of legal issues if you don't know how to do it.
Mhm.
So I see myself in 5 years, hopefully trying to help as many people as I can, because I really think, and I don't know how you feel, Jason, but I really think this is the way. Like,
Mhm.
I know that like vegans think that their way is the way, and I know we think that our way is the way, but I can tell by what's happening with my body that this really is the way. And if we can help people, like just even one person, if we can just help each of us, I don't know how many there are, but I know you have what, 6,000 followers, Jason? I mean,
Mhm.
if one of those 6,000 people can help just one person, think of what we could do.
Yeah.
Every person helps one person. Think of what we can do for the human race.
Mhm. Absolutely. We had a few things. There's a few people in here that have those vibration plates, like Joe has them.
Hmm.
She uses them sitting down.
Because of the balance. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think Target Prime Rib has the vibration plate
Mhm.
as well.
Yep.
Joe was saying it helps for lymphedema, and I
Hmm.
I don't know that second one. It does bother my arthritis.
Lymphedema. I think they're similar.
Okay,
I know it's some sort of it's swelling. Usually, I think in the
mm,
legs.
right.
Um.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear though that the the vibration plates and the rebounders do help with that kind of stuff. So, it's all stuff I don't really know anything about. So it's good to have some answers in the chat about that. And then Delilah's saying, "You do you" is my
Yep.
motto, whatever works. Yeah. And that's
Yep.
sort of always been my, like I will say to anybody that asks that this isn't, I'm not on a diet. This is the way I live, and if people don't like it, then that's their problem. And, I just carry on doing what I do, but I'm never going to sort of talk down to anyone that's
Right.
trying to do something, you know, anything that you do that's better than, the typical standard American diet kind of thing. That's fine with me. If I do have some reservations about what winds up being like a vegan diet. But if people want to eat like clean vegetarian vegan food, but then actually eat like real food, then that's like more power to you. The
At
problem
least they're
is
eating
that,
whole foods.
yeah,
They're not
a
eating
lot
like
of these,
Pop Tarts.
yeah, a lot of these diets, just because they say they're vegan, again, it's just like the rest of it, the diet or the foods that say they're keto, 99% of those foods aren't real food either. So, you know, just try to stay as close to whole single ingredients
Hmm.
foods. And, I'll never say that anyone's doing anything wrong if they're just trying to make a change.
Exactly. I 100,000% agree with that. And my plan as a coach is to meet people where they're ready to start. Maybe they're only
Hmm.
ready to start on low carb, right? And
Hmm.
then my goal to inspire them is to say, okay, is this working for you? If this is not
Hmm.
working for you, maybe we should tweak it a little bit, and try maybe this and maybe going stricter on the carbs. You got to get them to start wherever they're comfortable starting.
Hmm.
And then as they're not, as their goals aren't, maybe they're not meeting their goals, and that's where you can encourage them and maybe get them a little bit by little bit to transition. I mean, I started at keto, and now I'm went to ketovore, and then now I'm doing carnivore. So I
Hmm.
mean, that was over 8 years. I mean, that didn't all happen overnight. So, anyone that we help, we can just give them little bits at a time and try to meet them where they're willing to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. Yeah, the small steps, just like Paula, P&J's Homestead Adventures would say, small changes, will make the biggest impact, I think, for a lot of people. Like I'm an all or nothing kind of personality. So small changes wouldn't work for me. But, if someone out there wants to make a change and all they do is, okay, cut one thing out that you think is bad and then get used to that. And then maybe cut something else out and then get used to that. You don't have to just do a complete 180 overnight to see the difference. So.
Well, and there are little things that I did in my journey too. Like when I stalled, I was still drinking heavy cream in my coffee. And I thought, I'll never drink black coffee. I can never drink black coffee, right? And then I'm like, oh man, if I want to break my stall, I'm going to have to cut out the heavy whipping cream. I just know what I got to do. So I did, and I broke the stall. And then recently I'm like, I can't do carnivore. I can't do strict carnivore because I can't cut cheese. I can't live without the cheese. And I said that for years. I'll never do strict carnivore because I got to have my cheese. Now, some carnivores eat cheese, but I suspected the cheese was a problem for me because, I mean, every time I passed the fridge, even keto, I would have to get some cheese out of there as a snack. So, and I work from home. So I recognized that was a problem. And guess what? I've been carnivore for almost 60 days now, and I don't want cheese anymore. Like I don't crave the cheese. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's, well, that's sort of the way it goes. Once you get past that point of craving something and you're feeding your body what it needs, then, sooner or later you can cut out all the noise in your diet, and, you don't find yourself opening the fridge every time you want to put something in your mouth.
Exactly.
Reese is saying here, eating as much real food as possible is a way to go. Even if you're still eating SAD diet, real food is better than frankenfoods. Yeah. I think dirty keto is a great way to begin. Yeah. Work to clean it up. Yeah. And I think a lot of the people I've talked to in the past, and I know I was the same way. When I started keto, I started baking and making all this keto crap and, with almond flour and all that. I never baked a thing in my life until I started doing keto. And then all of a sudden I'm making all this stuff that I didn't really need. Right. But, yeah, if you can start, and I definitely don't suggest anyone, jump right into doing a strict carnivore diet personally, because it's just not going to work. Like people just can't stick to something like that. So.
Not from SAD. I've seen, I don't know if you watch any of the carnivore channels, but I've seen a lot of people try that, and then they don't last very long on it. And trust me, I love being strict carnivore now, but I was keto and ketovore for 7.5 years before I tried carnivore. I had zero keto flu going from keto to carnivore. There was no bad symptoms, nothing. Now, if you go from SAD diet to carnivore, I had terrible symptoms going from SAD diet to keto. I was homicidal for about 2 weeks. I thought I was going to commit a crime.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be pretty tough, allowing your body to heal itself and get used to the different types of foods you're putting into it can definitely be a struggle. Everything from, the keto flu or whatever you want to call it, because you're depleted of electrolytes and, your body getting used to processing animal fats more, or like a higher fat diet can be a real struggle as well. So I guess Joe's talking here. She had cellulitis infection in 2011 and ended up on ICU for 2 weeks.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, I work on keeping swelling down in my legs. So, yeah, for sure. Paul is saying, love the way we eat now. We hardly eat carbs or sugar anymore. So yeah, and then Ann Philbeck saying that she's never heard of dirty keto. Yeah, dirty keto is sort of I don't necessarily, like, I don't know what you see out there, but it doesn't sort of seem to me like that's more of a common sort of way to call it anymore. Like, it used to be a lot of YouTube channels when I first started that were dirty keto. And basically all that meant is that you didn't really care what you were eating as long as it was low carb.
Well, and also the net carb thing, like, and
Yeah.
not just net
Yeah.
carbs with Whole Foods, but like if you go and buy the packaged breads and their gimmicks, all of the store bought, Quest chips, Quest bars, Quest cookies, whatever. They're like, but you don't have to count your total carbs. So they would load this stuff with fiber to get the net carbs low. And Kim Howerton, I don't know if you know who she is. She played the net carb game and she was able to eat over 200 carbs and keep it under 20.
Yeah.
200 total carbs because of the net carb game. So that's kind of a dirty keto thing too, is the net carb game.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a game for sure. And it's sort of focused on, dirty keto would also not sort of focus on eliminating, because you can eat, like, even when I first started, I was eating a lot of like regular store-bought mayonnaise and stuff like that. So low carb,
Me too.
yes. Healthy, no. So then I think a lot of people start off that way, and then they start getting down that rabbit hole as well and think, hey, maybe I should clean this up. Maybe I should clean that up. And sooner or later, we're eating sardines out of a can and making our own mayonnaise, right? So.
Yeah. And it's much better too. It tastes much better.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, okay. Well, we've actually reached an hour. Usually I like to keep it around an hour for everyone involved, kind of thing. And then I know also Two Crazy Ketos goes live at 8:30 on Thursday nights as well. So a lot of people will want to go over there and hang out with them. But usually I like to sort of end off these interviews with asking, how do you sort of handle tomorrow someone comes to you and says, I want to start keto. I want to change my, my lifestyle and my health. Like, where would you sort of point them? Like, how would you get them to get started on that?
This is easy because this happens to me on a regular basis. Like, this is what made me start my Facebook group in 2021. My phone was blowing up with text messages. And so I started the group. I have a written out plan. Like, it's called Amy's Keto Plan. It's in a note on my phone and in my iCloud. But basically it gives them, okay, here's the things you need to eliminate. Even if they're one at a time, over time, but you want to, eliminate pastas, grains, gluten, seed oils. So there's a list of things, the usual things that you want to. And I said, eventually, start, maybe get your carbs down to 100. And I give them Carb Manager app. I prefer Carb Manager app. I know a lot of people use Chronometer. I think they're both good. I just thought Carb Manager was a little easier to use. So I say, you're going to want to get an app, a free app on your phone, and you're going to want to start tracking everything you eat, because that's going to really tell you where you're at. And always do total carbs, not net. And I send them instructions how to change it to total carbs. And then I'm like, start with 100 carbs, then go down to 50, then go down to 20 if you can, 20 or less total carbs. And then I send them Dr. Barry's Keto 101 playlist. And I said, watch one video a day. So I direct them and suggest watch one video a day, and this is going to get you started. And then I said, then I'm like, what type of foods do you eat? Because I have a Recipe Keeper app with all of my favorite recipes in there, which I'm not really eating right now because I'm carnivore, but if someone's keto, I'm well versed in that too. And if they like tacos, I send them the taco pie recipe. If they like lasagna. I send them, a couple different lasagna. So I ask them what they like. If they like pizza, and I suggest they're going to have to get used to cooking somewhat and not
Mhm.
running fast food as much. But even then, I have some tips on how to eat out, on this lifestyle too. So I already have like 3 or 4 things that, boom, the minute somebody, they don't even know they're going to get hit with. They ask the
Mhm.
person they need to get to was me. And I have about 5 things I just start firing off. And then I give them that. And then I'm like, okay, get started with these things and let me know if you have any other questions. So really, I feel like I've been doing some auxiliary coaching without one-on-one sessions, just through chatting and Facebook and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, well, and that's sort of, the way, like you were saying earlier, that's what we as part of this community, you know, from what we've learned over the years, my 6 years of doing it, however many years you've been learning, we need to be
Mhm.
able to pass on that knowledge to people that need to hear it. Like thankfully, we've got a lot of people in our communities that have already sort of seen the difference and seen, why this works kind of thing. But there's
Mhm.
thousands and millions of other people out there that really need to hear it. And I
Yep.
think, I don't know about you, but I do think that overall uh, the world is starting to wake up to a lot of this. It seems to be shifting a little bit. There's more and more people I talk to that say, "Oh yeah, no, we don't eat the seed oils anymore." And there's, people like, "Oh yeah, I know
Mhm.
refined sugar is no good for you." And so yeah,
Yep,
no, I
I
think
agree.
that's a good way to you're already ready for that question to come up. So,
Yep.
all the power to you to be able to help as many people as you can. If you know exactly what you're going to say and you've got the information to back it up, then
And it's
people.
funny because I could be at the doctor's office and get that text message. I have it all on my phone
Mhm.
just because I never know if I'm going to be, where I'm going to be when that person decides to reach out. So I want to be ready so that I can respond as quickly as I can to people. And I've even talked on the phone. There have been people who have my phone number and they were just desperate to talk to somebody. There have been times I've spent
Mhm.
3 hours just talking to a friend on the phone because they've had cancer 3 times, or their husband got diagnosed with some sort of heart issue, and they just need someone to listen, because they have a wake up call and they just need someone who will listen. So
Sure.
that's important
Yeah.
too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. Well, like I say, we'll probably have to set up a follow-up live stream to
That'd be
go through
great.
some more things, but
Yes.
uh, thank you for coming on the channel and introducing yourself to everyone from my community, and thanks to everybody that's been watching from Amy's channel as well. We appreciate you being here tonight. Make sure to leave a comment down below after the live stream ends. It really helps YouTube sort of get the idea that people need to hear this information, and that's why we're here having these conversations, is just to try and help somebody out, help somebody that needs to hear this information. So,
And thanks for having me on, Jason. I appreciate
yep,
it.
yep, no problem. So, if you want to hang on a second,
Sure.
we'll finish this up and go from there. So, thank you, Amy. We'll talk to you in a couple of minutes here. Okay, so thanks everyone for being here tonight, and I'm going to try and get myself back on the screen. Thanks to Amy for being with us as well, and for all the kind words. I've been watching your comments here. We have another Chawful recipe coming out at 6:45 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, so hopefully you can stop on by and check that out. Be probably a few weeks before we get back on to doing live streams. Got some vacation coming up, but I'll keep you posted on that. But every Friday night we'll have a new recipe video come out for your enjoyment. So that's about it. Thanks for joining myself and Amy tonight. Hope you have a great week and great weekend, and we will see you next time. Keep on thriving, my friends.